So I was going to talk about multiple things on the consent calendar, and I'm pretty disappointed that we only have 3 minutes to talk about all these different issues, which I feel are pretty important. But the major one that I wanted to talk about was approving an essential service agreement between Tuolumne County and San Francisco relating to municipal service provided to Hetchy Water and Power. So basically, it sounds like San Francisco is going to be giving the county around $2.5 million for 6 years of service. So that means fire protection, roads, and stuff like that. But I think the county really isn't giving out the information that we really need, because I would like to know, how much are these services going to cost the county? Is it going to be more expensive than San Francisco is giving us the money for? And it wasn't shown. There wasn't a cost analysis on how much it's going to cost us for providing those services. So I think this should be voted no against. Just for that reason alone, it wasn't shown. We should know how much money it's going to cost us before we blindly pass it, because it could very well be more than $2.5 million, and it was talking about lawsuits in the agreement if you don't do what San Francisco wants. And I think that's not right. This is a big deal. We should know how much that's going to cost. And honestly, I don't think San Francisco should even own our water like they do, but that's a whole nother topic. So there's a few other things that I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of money being spent. That it's all going to be passed all at the same time. $75,000 for this Resiliency Center project right here. And then I think there was another $70,000 again for one of the other ones. And that seems like an awful lot of money when the county has been saying that we don't have enough money and that's why we need to increase taxes. So why are you spending the people's money on these consulting for additional scope of work related to the Community Resiliency Center projects in the amount of $40,000? So we're paying somebody $40,000 for just some advice? That's crazy. That's completely nuts. It really is. I think we need to be more fiscally responsible. That money should go to, say, roads in Tuolumne, which are very bad. Our roads are potholed, infested. They look like third world roads. I've been to third world countries, and our roads look worse. We have the worst roads in this state by far. So it's just completely crazy. I think there should be more time allotted to talking about these different things, and not just, oh, we can pass it. You only get 3 minutes to talk on these different issues. So I just wanted to make a point of that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to respond to your couple of your things that you mentioned. First of all, when we have other governmental agencies working within our county, like San Francisco, there is generally accepted that we just let them do whatever they do and we don't get any funding. But this is an agreement because they have agreed to give us, because they recognize that they do put a burden on our roads, on our law enforcement, on our fire. And this is an agreement that we've had in place that I hope we get with other entities that have properties in our counties, and they're not paying for it. So this, I just want to give you a brief overview. We don't have enough time to go into it. I have encouraged you to come and talk to me. No, let me just finish, please, because we've got a huge agenda here. The other thing that I want to explain to you, your comment on, can you listen to me? The resiliency centers are paid for by the NDRC, the National Disaster Resiliency Competition, that comes from the federal government. The federal government has paid for these because of the rim fire to help our community come back. The monies that we are spending here do not come from local taxpayers. They come from the federal government for this competition. And that's all I wanted to say. It's hard to listen to people who have only part of the information. We can't spend that money on roads. I'm sorry. You need to get better acquainted with how things work in the government.
And Madam Chair, I wanted to reiterate your point too.
Looks like we have at least one person. Okay, one person.
Hi, this is Catherine. I'm just getting caught up, being new to the area. I just wanted to ask some clarifying questions. So it appears that the resilient funds are coming from the Rockefeller Foundation, and it looks like we received a grant of or funding for $19 million, correct, from them?
No, we got the funds from the National Disaster Resilience Fund.
Right. It's
It would actually
so-
comes from the
So to answer your question, Catherine, it's a combination. So when this competition came about, it was a joint partnership between HUD and the Rockefeller Foundation. And the Rockefeller Foundation was in the beginning part of the process because this is a new process for HUD. It was a competitive process. It took us over almost a year with basically having to compete in 2 different rounds to get the funds. But once the funds were awarded, they stepped out of it, and we've been working with HUD at the federal level and Housing and Community Development at the state level.
Wonderful, thank you. Then the last 2 questions would be, so it sounds like you're looking to approve an additional amount of funding, and so the total project will be over $19 million for 2 resiliency centers. I was under the impression this was disaster relief funding that was going out. So where can I learn more about these resilient centers? It does seem like quite a lot of money to me, but I'm not knowledgeable enough to leave a further comment.
So Catherine, the Community Resiliency Center is actually unique to Tuolumne County. The state of California, through these funds, this is basically a pilot project. And now that with climate change and especially in the state of California, disasters unfortunately happening to many of our neighboring communities, the governor has just released 2 different grants for funding for what's called community resiliency centers, and we are the model for the state of California. So we're kind of the first. We're the pilot project for this, and the total cost probably will be close to somewhere around 24 or 25 million for 2 almost 10,000 square foot buildings from stick up,
Okay.
including all of the contracts and all of the associated contracts, purchase of the property, and all the requirements that we had to follow for this project.
Okay, thank you for that information. I'll look into that some more. I appreciate your response.
Thank you.